Tonight on 3 News, many thousands hit the malls, but some experts claim it's the end of the Boxing Day sales as we know them.
An attempt to blow up an American airline, why the White House believes it was an act of terrorism with links to Al-Qaeda. The Pope's back in action today, but there are serious questions about his security after yesterday's attack. And let the holidays begin. Kiwis dressing up for the races and right down for a day at the beach.
This is 3 News with Carolyn Robertson and Simon Shepherd.
Kia ora, good evening. Many thousands flocked to the country's shopping centres and malls today to make the most of the Boxing Day sales. A short time ago, EFTPOS sales totalled around $77 million, but that's less than last year, and some are blaming the fall on aggressive sales tactics used in the lead up to Christmas. Dan Parker reports.
With heavy discounts on offer, thousands of bargain hunters descended on the country's many retailers, all hoping to take advantage of the traditionally big savings attached to the Boxing Day sales.
I've been waiting all year for it. It's got the biggest sales. It's fantastic.
Well, it's cheap and there's like so many people. It's really fun.
Yeah, easier as well because like got your Christmas money.
The demand for parking was almost as intense as the demand for goods in places, and while there were often long waits and big queues, many were still keeping their sense of humour.
First, I didn't know what Boxing Day was, except I found out that it's a shopping holiday. I know there's some other meaning to it, but I'm not sure what it is.
In Lower Hutt, extra staff were hired to cope with the crowds, including parking attendants.
We've also employed additional staff in our customer service team and additional security just to help out today.
And they were needed for the steady surge of sales.
EFTPOS transactions peaked at 77 a second between midday and 1 p.m. In that period, there was a total of 240,000.
But that figure is about half as much as Christmas Eve.
The mix in December has been a little different this year, with, of course, some major chain stores advertising bargains prior to Christmas in a bigger way than what's perhaps been the trend in previous years.
And some retailers say those aggressive tactics could spell the end of the traditional Boxing Day sale.
I think back in the day nobody went on sale, and anyone that did was considered like heathen. Do not take sales away from us. No one's going on sale, you just don't do it. Now everyone's on sale, and yeah, it takes the novelty away from Boxing Day, I'm sure.
But others argue the growing popularity of vouchers could be to blame. That, and on a nice day, many would rather be at the beach. Dan Parker, 3 News.
The White House says it believes an attempt to blow up a Delta Northwest Airlines plane carrying 278 passengers was an act of terrorism. Security officials say a Nigerian passenger reportedly said he was acting on Al-Qaeda's instructions when he tried to detonate explosives as the plane was landing in Detroit. As Jim Axelrod reports, passengers subdued the man.
After Delta Northwest Flight 253 landed in Detroit, the plane was moved to a remote part of the airport. Authorities were concerned enough to try to send in a bomb-disabling robot to investigate.
We heard a loud pop, then a bit of a smoke, and then some flames, then yelling and screaming.
There was a fire in the plane after a few seconds. It was very scary for everyone.
The Airbus 330 was carrying 278 passengers. The suspect was subdued and detained aboard the flight and is now being questioned by the FBI. The most important question at this point, how exactly was someone able to get an explosive on board the plane in the first place?
Back check on board!
The amount of explosive might not have been enough to be detected by normal screening procedures. It's unclear if Dutch authorities had selected the man for additional screening.
I think we got to find out what kind of fireworks were in play and then go back and take a look and see whether procedures were followed, whether something was overlooked that allowed these materials to get through. How do you tighten up the procedure? And then you really got to prosecute the person who brought them on board to the full extent of the law.
What's also unclear is how the explosives were lit. After the notorious shoe bomber Richard Reed tried to blow up a Paris to Miami flight in 2001.
We must confiscate your lighter.
Congress banned lighters from planes. That ban had just been lifted this past August 4th.
Meanwhile, airline security in Australia has been loosened. The federal government rushed through changes easing airport security restrictions in a bid to avoid congestion over the busy holiday season. Nail clippers, tennis rackets, crochet hooks and knitting needles can all now be carried onto aircraft, and metal cutlery will be able to be used again on domestic flights.